Ready?
Roll it.
Welcome to Local 865. I'm Dr. Bruce, Doctor of Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine, located in Dandridge, Tennessee. And with us we have Toby. Go for it.
Toby Downey from Holston Baptist Church, senior pastor there. And it is our extra special treat today to introduce you our first test monkey. That we're trying out formats and wanting to see how you all respond to it the best. So we've got one of my dear friends, almost a brother. If he wasn't better looking than me, I would call him a brother. But this is Tate Everett, all the way hailing from the state of Washington. And one of the reasons I wanted to have him on as our first guest is because he is a transplant here to East Tennessee. And he has lived a lot of life in a lot of places, served in law enforcement, served in the United States military in the capacity of a Marine. And there's just a lot about his life that we can celebrate because it has been a continuation of grace in the community, and it's you can look at anything that you do as a ministry, and in a lot of ways as a police officer and serving our country, I definitely count that as a ministry. So we're not only here back in the blue today, we're celebrating the blue with retired Sergeant Tater Everett. And I won't call him Tater because I can't help it, but his name is Tate. And in the world that we're living in today, I'm kind of going to do a long intro. We've got a lot of chaos and a lot of craziness right now. And it might behoove you, if you find us wherever on Facebook or on YouTube, it might behoove you to spend about 30 minutes with us and maybe get back and find a little bit of sanity in a crazy world. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll get to Tate in a minute. Anything on your heart, brother?
We talked about forgiveness the last time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I wanted to bring up with that, we don't really think about how we hold on to things in our system as much as we should. And whether it be frustration, the lack of forgiveness in our heart, guilt, but these things affect us physically. Our cortisol levels, our hormones change, stiffness. I've seen people, I've treated hospice nurses, and the level of just caked up trauma that appears in that body is insane. And caregivers, for example, there are a lot of people in this world where their spouse has been injured either through stroke or cancer or another debilitating disease, and now they're at a point where they have to be a caretaker 24/7. And just recently I had a patient where her stomach was a mess from just the amount of caregiving that she had to provide, knowing that if her husband falls, she can't pick him up. And one of the things that we really tried to focus on in my office is not just the physical, there's also the emotional aspect and the spiritual aspect of healing. And when we take that time to kind of make it right in ourselves and learn to heal and grow, that gives opportunity for other people. We're an example. We're a role model to that. So bridging off that, the concept of guilt. And sometimes I know personally, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't feel like I could just do a little bit more. You ever see the Schindler's List at the end? Where like I could have done more. I could have done more. That guilt we have to put aside because we're going to run ourselves ragged and burn ourselves out. Areas that we know that we can improve, we work on. Areas that we know that we cannot improve, the time has passed, we have to forgive ourselves and move forward.
I think I preached on that like 3 weeks ago.
That's wonderful.
And you can share my story, what you treat me for. I mean, Bruce, I'm a non-typical Bruce client. He is, as a patient, he wants you to come into his office. He puts his finger on what the problem is. He treats the problem, changes the lifestyle, and then really he doesn't want to see you again. But me, I've been seeing him now for going on 5 years, and I think I've mentioned this on our very first podcast. Whenever I first went to see him, I could not handle people touching me. I had touched out. everybody that I meet, everybody that I encounter, I shake their hand, I hug their neck, I cry with them. I'm in a lot of very traumatic situations and environments, and I had caked that on to myself, and it had literally locked me up. I eventually wound up having a heart attack from it, and ironically, 2 weeks before I had a heart attack, Bruce just touching me, he was working on my back, and he said, "Man, you're going to have a heart attack." 2 weeks later, I had a heart attack. I was wearing everybody else's emotion, and I had not made place to just dump my emotion, and my therapy changed drastically after that. After the heart surgery and recovery, Bruce started delegating either 30 minutes or an hour a week to getting that junk off of me, and that makes me applaud him all the more, because in order to do that, he's got to take it on himself. And a lot of times with forgiveness, we'll go back to that topic, with forgiveness, man, we wear that for years and we don't even know. And if your clothes get dirty, you can change your clothes, but you can't change your heart as easily. And it really takes a lot of meditation and prayer. It takes trust in the Lord. I'm presenting to 100 kids tonight the gospel through Philippians chapter 4, talking about not being able to carry everything in life by yourself. And everybody, without exception, everybody needs a hand in that. And my therapy, quite honestly, I mean, I go to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night. I'm available to the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to be a church member to call my cell phone, and everybody in Strawberry Plain from Bristol to Chattanooga has my cell phone number, and I don't know when the phone's going to ring, and you can only live under that angst so long. Well, now guess what? I told you last time that I have a forgiveness problem. I have an anger problem. I don't have time to put my finger on Toby's problems if I've all the time just mired under everybody else's. So it takes a very conscious effort to kind of dump those things off of our shoulders so that we can catch our breath, so that we can enjoy life, so that we can experience that unique thing today in a sane fashion called joy. So if you're hanging on to it, find you a way, find you some conduit, some methodology to where you can spend time alone with yourself, and in doing so get closer to the Lord and just experience life. Take yourself a breath, because you can only carry for so long this thing called life without going to somebody for some help. And I'm just thankful that through friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, I was introduced to Bruce back 5 years ago, and I'm thankful that he's one of my brothers too.
I also wanted to say, this podcast we've been wanting to do for a couple of years. And the biggest thing is finding those people who are in our community that are making a difference in our community, the positive changes. And the ones who do the most usually get the least amount of recognition and acknowledgement. And this has been something that's been on my heart for a while. And having our first guest, this is something that I've wanted to do. We've been talking about this, and we've made it happen. So baby steps, because it took us 2 years almost to get to this point. Things take time, and it'll come to fruition. And one of the things this past weekend that we were talking about, I went on a camping trip with my family. I really had to kind of take a moment to assess my core values. What is it that drives me and puts me in the position that I'm in? Why am I doing what I do? And I can't see any other way than a heavenly mandate. It has to be, if I am not following my purpose, it'll all crumble. Everything falls apart. The closer I am to that heavenly mandate, that purpose that I've been called to, the more resilient, robust, the more positive I am around my community. And so if there are things that you are called to do, even if it's just volunteering, there are plenty of senior citizen homes in the area that people need time and attention. Just getting out into your community and offering your time, an hour a week, it doesn't matter. Give of yourself, and you're going to see how much it changes you. It's an incredible way of living. So with that, I think we should probably start digging into Tate.
Yeah. And it is a privilege for me to have both these gentlemen on my back porch right now because the reverence and the friendship and appreciation I have for them, I won't get into it because I don't have enough time. They're just great guys, and I'll vouch for them. I'll go to the mat for them. But they both have unique journeys to East Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, Washington State's a long ways away, but you kind of came via New Jersey through China into Connecticut, into the Bronx, and then to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tate had a more direct approach, and he is here today representing a very unique ministry. It is something that we as general citizens just overlook. We see it as an accoutrement to society. But if you ever see those guys running around with a badge on their chest and they got some body armor on, but on their car and on their sleeve and on the front of their placard, it says K9 officer. And for me, I'm an animal lover. I stay in trouble for this. I think I've said this on all 3 podcasts. I like dogs better than I like people. And it's because of that unconditional love. And my dogs, I dump a lot of my frustration off on the dogs. But when you sign up, when you get selected to be K9, it changes your life, doesn't it?
Yes.
And even into retirement, you are still part of that ministry, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about Vested in Canines.
So Vested Interest in Canines is a nonprofit. They're based out of Massachusetts. And when I first got into canine in 2009, I had a 90-pound German Shepherd who bit me more than he bit bad guys. He was that kind of a dog. And my canine sergeant at the time, he found Vested Interest in Canines, we're going to call it, or VI Canines. And we got our dogs vested through them. And excuse me.
Wait, hang on. We got a wasp problem. Okay.
Anyhow, so we got vested through them, and then I think in 2017 we flew out to New England. We were kind of just looking around. When Tawny grew up kind of in the New England area, spent time in Maine, spent time in Massachusetts, and in Plymouth, and so we went just to go out there to kind of hang out and see what was going on, and kind of looking at retirement places out of Washington, because Washington, they tax the crud out of you. And so we went up there, drove up through there, and had a good time. And while we were up there, we met Sandy and had lunch with her, and her and Tawny became pretty good friends. And my wife Tawny was asked to be on their board of directors, and she also started doing some volunteer work. Might not be right in order, but she was handing out thank you cards to the donors, and then she went and became one of their board directors, and and so my first dog retired in 2015, and that's when I got Havoc, and he also was vested through VI Canines, and we went through until I think March 2022 is when Havoc retired, and then I retired in October of 2022. So
the product that you are putting these service animals in, I think you have an example down there. If you could show everybody
sure.
what.
Well, first of all,
All right.
unlike the Sean Ryan show, you're not giving me gifts, but I have gifts for you guys.
Oh, sweet.
So,
Sweet.
Nothing super special, but you each get a calendar, even though we're 6 months into the year.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Are you in this shirtless?
I'm not in that shirtless.
You're not in this
Is your
shirtless?
dog in that shirtless?
No. So, my first dog, Ike, actually was in there on a memorial picture back when he was passed away. So those are for you guys, and then you totally can pass those out.
Yeah, we'll distribute some of these. I think your kids would like one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna go ahead and put
So-
mine on.
And then we also got stuff. This all goes to donations, but we got T-shirts as well, and hats, and all kinds of cool stuff. And if you notice on here, this one's tracking and trailing with a bloodhound on it. And
Nice.
got a picture of the dog, and the dog's always the smart end of the leash.
Sweet. The dog is always the smart end of the leash.
So, anyway,
There's
but
a sermon in that.
Yeah, there is. So, but yeah, so basically, this is what we give out, and it's a level 2 NIJ certified vest, ballistic vest. These they go on your dog. They're custom fit for your dog. So when you hear about us, if you're a canine guy, you go onto our website, bik9s.org, and you basically fill out an inquiry. Then you get assigned to somebody else that's going to walk you through the process of how to get one of these. And what's really awesome is the only thing that this costs to anybody that wants one is 2 press releases and a little bit of time.
2 press releases and a little bit of time.
So,
if you missed that because of the airplane going overhead.
So what was the name of that?
VIK9s.org.
VI.
Yeah.
We'll try to leave a tag for that in
Sure.
this video.
So basically, you get assigned. We'll call them a handler, and it's a volunteer, and they will walk you through the process. Each dog is we give you directions on how to measure your dog. So you go around the neck, you go from the collar to the back of their tailbone, basically, or where the tail meets the body, and then girth and that stuff. And so each one of these vests is custom made for the dog. And so you basically throw this on the ground, get your dog to get their front feet in there, you pick it up, and then it's got a zipper and Velcro on it, so it just goes right on the dog.
It looks pretty all-weather like most body armor.
Yep, so this is, I think I had a 3A vest when I first left it, and I had plates on it. Probably still isn't. I wouldn't want to go up against anything like an AR-15 or an AK-47 with that thing on. But
That'll stop at 357,
but
9mm.
This will stop 9mm, 357, 45, and 380, 25 autos. All basically most pistol rounds this will stop. So, and again, they're totally free. We get pretty good donations. We even had some girls, they were little girls, and they saved up. These vests cost just over $1,000 a piece. And these girls had their favorite dogs that they wanted to vest, and so they all saved their money up, and one bought a vest for one of the dogs that was her favorite, and another girl bought a vest for one of the dogs that was her favorite. So
how for people who are not in law enforcement, and if they wanted to donate, is there a different website?
No, it's all on the same website.
Same website.
There.
Okay.
And so we also do some other things, but real quick. So when a lot of people that donate money, they will, like my first dog was not Ike. It was Havoc. Havoc got his vest donated by the Seattle Chive. So they got it, and so it was pretty fun to reach out to them and let them know.
So if you are a for-profit business out there and you're looking for a little bit of a tax shelter up here, this is a very worthy investment, and because the more that dog is protected, the more that dog's able to protect his handler.
And other cops. So when you do donate, you also get a pick embroidery for the dog, or for the vest. And so, like this one just says, it's kind of this is our example vest. This one just says honoring those who served and sacrificed. So you can do it in honor of like previous fallen canines at that agency or an officer, and so you can basically memorialize them with the vest.
That's great.
So
now I'm going to ask you some questions about your time in service.
yeah.
When you got into the K9 department, were you a sergeant then?
No, I was not a sergeant. Actually, so I started the cop job in April 2nd of 1995, and in 2002 we got a new sheriff, and we had one dog prior to that, and I got to see him bite one of my bad guys that I was chasing, and I fell in love with that. I was like, that's sweet.
Bad guys don't like good dogs.
Yeah, they do not. But it was really fun to watch that. In fact, ironic story about that guy is they were stealing anhydrous ammonia to make methamphetamines. And so we get this guy to jail, and we're booking him, and I get his criminal history, and I see he'd been arrested like 500 times in the city of Kent, over on the east, on the coast of Washington. And my dad is retired from Kent. At the time, he was still working for Kent, so I call him up and say, "Hey, Dad." He's like, "What?" I said, "You know this guy?" He started laughing, and he said, "Do you remember this dog that we had way back in the day?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "That guy was that dog's first bite up in an attic." So he's a multi-county dog bite guy. So
Yeah.
it was pretty fun.
He's a test dummy.
Yeah.
Now, you come from a long line of law enforcement. Your father is retired law enforcement. You're retired law enforcement, and your daughter
is currently in law enforcement.
Is currently in law enforcement.
In Maine, right?
Yep, she's a detective up in Topsom, Maine. So that was a pretty cool picture. That was a fun time to be there with and watch her graduation. It was really funny to watch the guy try and pronounce Okanagan County.
Okanagan. I've been trying that all day. I had to spell it to say it.
Anyway, so yeah, so that in 2002 we got a new sheriff. We started a bunch of new programs. One of them, they reinvigorated the canine program, and so at the same time they were putting together a special response team, and so I went that route. And there was 4 other people that we got 2 patrol dogs that were single purpose patrol dogs. So they basically, their job was to go do building searches, track criminals, all that kind of stuff. And the other 2 dogs were narcotics dogs. And so obviously they smell all the drugs. So, and back then it was really easy because marijuana was illegal in Washington, and so they could smell all the dogs, or the drugs. And then so doing the SRT stuff, and kind of we put the dogs in with the team here and there, and I thought, well, this is a really good tool for the team. And then the dogs that were currently in service, they retired. One of them did, and in 2009 is when I got picked to go get my first dog. And so that was kind of a cluster. The first dog, we flew out to North Carolina and tested dogs out there, and we found one that we liked, and so they shipped him on a plane to us, and we brought him home, and I was scheduled. I think we got him about a week or maybe a week and a half before my class started. And so in Washington State, you're required to have 400 hours of training with the dog to become just a patrol dog, and then you need another 6 weeks. So that's basically 3 months, and then you need another 6 weeks of training to do narcotics. And so a week before I was to go, or it's the day before, I'm driving into class, my very first day of school. Had to be there. We do all our training at night because that's when businesses are closed, and we had keys to the businesses to go train in those places. And so our training day was usually from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 or 11 at night. And we do that 4 days a week. And I'm driving into class, and I get a call from my boss, he was running the dog that I got to see the first bite with. And he said, "Hey, your dog's not going to work." I'm like, "Haha, you're funny, Dave," because I'm driving to school. He's like, "No, for real. The vet just called me after we got him x-rayed, and he's got bad hips, bad back, and we don't know if he's going to work 6 weeks or 6 years. So
Wow.
we need to send that dog back." I'm like, "Well, really? What am I going to do with this dog?" And so we trained that dog that week, and then sent him back on Friday. And on the way over there to the airport, we stopped at a lady's house named Suzanne Evanston, and she's a breeder, and she had Ike, my first dog, and we ended up picking him and taking him home, and that would have been a good second dog to have, but I learned a ton about dogs and dog behavior with that dog, and because it was a love-hate relationship with that dog. He was nothing but business. That dog had no fun in him at all, so he hated life. And so
What was the breed?
oh, he was a German Shepherd,
Okay.
so just a standard German Shepherd.
And Havoc is
He's a Belgian Malinois. And I thought going from a Shepherd, I could track like nobody's business. Like he could just go and go and go on a track. And I knew if we weren't close to the bad guy or he lost the trail, he would just start digging and just biting brush and just going crazy. And it was kind of, he was done then. He was game over. He got frustrated, and we had to quit. And I was worried about going from a Shepherd to a Mal on tracking. And little did I know, Havoc is a tracking fool. So that guy, we've been on some serious tracks together, and it is so much fun when you get to the end. And I think we bit, maybe in the 5 years I had Havoc on the street, we only bit about one person a year that was dumb enough not to listen. And
I got to bring attention to something real quick. Tater just said, "We bit." He didn't say the dog bit. He said, "We bit."
we're a team, so that's the thing.
These dogs go home with these guys. They live with these guys. They feel, and if you've never owned an animal or you've never paid attention to the animals that you own, what you're feeling, they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you learn in school is whatever you're feeling runs right down the leash into the dog. So if you're getting frustrated and with how things are going and progressing that day, that dog's going to perform the same way you're feeling. And so he's going to get frustrated and mad. And so it might be time to put the leash down for a little while and maybe go take a break for 30, 40 minutes and then come back and continue where you're at once your head's a little bit clear.
Now, when you did serve in the SWAT department, were you K-9 then, or
No,
was that?
that was
SWAT was before?
Yep.
I'll ask one more question about the dog and let you keep talking because you're doing our job for us. This is great. Can you say that you think that your dog saved your life?
Yes, I can. I know I can on a few occasions. So the first time we had a murder suspect we were tracking. Well, we weren't tracking. We were fixing to start a track on him. Basically, this guy had his car broke down up in the woods, way up in the woods. Like, we're probably about 30 miles out of town, up in the mountains. And these guys up there, they kind of were getting ready to take care of business on their own. They were telling this guy, you need to move your car because you've been broke down here in our driveway more or less for 3 hours. And the guy basically lit the car on fire and then walked off. So that's a little odd behavior. And so one of my guys went up there, and when they got the fire out, they're going through the car a little bit, and they found a body in the trunk in a tote. And so we're like, okay, I guess we got some business to take care of. So we went, and me and another deputy responded up to where they were at, and we're up there, and I'm on the phone with the sheriff. I said, hey, we need to call a team out. We got this is what the situation is. I said, we need to start doing a track on this guy. And so as soon as I hung up the phone with him, or maybe while I was on the phone with him, dispatch received a call from this little country store up there and said, hey, the guy you're looking for is walking down the road. And so I'm like, okay. So I grabbed me and one of my other guys went with me, and we went down there and contacted this guy on the road. He was walking, and I think I've met him like maybe once just on the street prior to this. I knew who he was. I didn't know anything about him, but my partner that was with me dealt with him all the time. Him and his brothers, they knew him like they were everyday folks up there, and so frequent flyers, if you will. And so I just knew him by name. I didn't really know anything else about him, and said, hey, you need to show us your hands. Hey, we need to talk to you. And he turned sideways, and he wouldn't show us. He had his hands in his pockets, and he took one hand out, and no, he didn't yet. But anyway, long story short, he wasn't obeying our lawful commands, and I was like, okay, this sounds like a canine situation. So we got Havoc out of the car, and usually when people see the dog, they just, okay, you won't shoot me, but you're gonna send that dog, and he's gonna bite me. It's gonna hurt too. And so they give it up. And this guy took his left hand out of his pocket, and that's all he would do. And it's like, hey, we have to give a warning. We have to let them know who we are, what we want them to do, and what's going to happen if they don't do it. So I told him, hey, I'm going to send my dog, you're going to get bit. And he could see the dog, so he knew I wasn't bluffing. And he took one hand out of his pocket and then pointed up at the sky and said something. And then I sent Havoc after him. And then as Havoc was about twice as far as from me to you, I could tell he was just about like one more jump, and he was going to jump at him. The guy pulled a handgun out of his pocket, and then we ended up shooting him. And that guy survived. We went to trial. That was on my wife's birthday in 2018.
Happy birthday.
Yep. And so almost 3 years to the day, it was the end of May when we went to trial for him, and he was convicted of murder and an attempted assault first degree in Washington State ×2 for the gun and us.
Yeah.
So, and then I just found out recently that he lost his Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of Washington. They denied his appeal.
Well, good.
So
I hope he enjoys his stay.
That business is said and done. But yeah, and then it's the second time, this other guy, he had ran from, so there was a game warden that had been hunting on our side of the mountains. So Washington State's kind of two states, if you will. You got the communist coast, and then you got
Idaho,
God's country in towards Idaho on the eastern Washington. So, but this guy was walking down the middle of Highway 20 in October at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and he had several long guns like shotguns and rifles, and then the fish and game guy that was hunting on our side of the mountains was driving home that morning and saw this guy, so he called up one of the local guys that works in our area and said, hey, come up and check this guy out. And so he got up there and he gets his license or his ID and goes to run him, and the guy takes off running. And as they're tracking him, he dropped like 1 or 2 handguns along the way. And so that was during the daytime, the day before I came to work. And so the following evening I came to work, and it was my Monday. I can't remember exactly what day of the week it was, but we, Tanya was actually riding with me that night. And we go and answer, I think, 2 or 3 calls for service that, so I think I see him in my yard, can you come and look? And so we go and like, this guy's not down here that far. And we go check those out, find nothing, and then finally it's like 8:30 at night, and it's winter time, and maybe early spring. So there's a little bit of snow on the ground, but not a lot. And we get a report of this guy being on Highway 20 walking down the road. It's like, that's got to be him. So we drive up there, and I stopped at my boss's house actually along the way, my chief criminal deputy at the time, and asked her to come help me out. And we go driving up there, and sure enough, here's this guy walking down the road, and I hit him with the spotlight or my takedown lights and opened the door, and I'm standing in my doorway, and I said, hey man, I called him by his name, and I said, are you so-and-so? He's like, yeah. I said, you must be pretty dang cold. He's like, oh yeah, I'm cold. And I said, you want to ride into town? He's like, sure. I said, well, first of all, you're under arrest because you got warrants. And poof, he took off running. And this is one of the only times I ever door popped somebody. And when I say door pop, we have a button on us, and it automatically opens the door so the dog can come out and help. And I'm trucking after this guy, and he goes over this guardrail. And this is literally up in the middle of nowhere, just like the shooting was. And this guy bails over the guardrail, and I'm door popping him, and I'm going, come on, Havoc, let's get that guy. And Havoc goes over the thing, and I'm like, I have a flashlight, and that guy didn't, and I look down over the hill, and it's literally almost vertical, and I don't hear anything. And I'm like, that's odd. And so I start creeping down the hill, and I get about 2/3 of the way down, and it flattens out and opens up, and you can see kind of under there's no underbrush, so it's pretty good visibility. So I'm shining my light down there, and Havoc goes under this tree, and then he comes running back out. And he goes back under the tree and comes running back out. I'm like, that's probably where my guy's at. And Havoc, he's a great dog, but he would find the bad guys and then come back and tell me he found the bad guys.
Yeah, hey
and
Dad, look.
Almost asked permission to bite him. I was like, go get him. He's like, are you sure it's gonna hurt? And so I said, go get him, and he'd go get him. And so I think that's kind of what he's doing with this guy. He went down under the tree, and I'm like, okay, that's probably where he's at. So I kind of creep my way down there, and I see this guy laying down on the ground, and Havoc's right up there on him. And I call Havoc back, and I tell the guy to show me his hands, and he puts his hands out, and he's laying down, and I go up and I handcuff him. And he had 3 firearms on him, a big old pocket full of meth. And I think what happened is Havoc didn't, I said, did my dog bite you? He's like, no, I don't think so. Is this guy, I had the advantage of light, and he didn't. And about halfway down that hill, there was a tree that was about chest high. I think he ran smack into that tree and rolled the rest of the way down the house. He knocked a tooth out. But anyway, so that's 2 times that we that Havoc really came through for me and did a really good job.
Yeah,
so,
it's a different companionship. It's
yes.
a different partner.
So like you were talking about earlier, those dogs are with you 24/7. Like you don't have a family member that's going to spend as much time with you as that dog will, and they're Havoc. He gets separation anxiety when I'm not at home, and it's just he's the best dog, but he can be a little annoying with the attention he requires. So.
Tanya sent me a video yesterday of him and Charlie
Yeah.
having a howl off.
Yeah, so it's hilarious because Havoc's a 70-pound Malinois and Charlie's a 20-pound mini Australian Shepherd, and they're the best buddies ever.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
I love both those dogs.
I met Havoc, or did I meet
Yes.
Charlie?
Havoc.
I thought so.
Havoc is the bigger dog.
Yes.
I don't think you saw Charlie yet. He was inside.
Probably not.
But another thing that I do for Vested Interest Canine is we do this first aid course that we were talking about. We also do these first aid kits. So the kits, they're basically, I have an IFAC that's in my truck, an individual first aid kit. We call them KFACs for canine first aid kits. These they come in a fanny pack, and it comes with it's a bandage called an OLAS bandage, which is basically a 3-in-1 bandage. You can use it for packing wounds. It has a little chunk of plastic in it that you can use for a makeshift chest seal if you need to, or you can just use it as a regular bandage if you need to. It's got 2 4x4 flat bandages that are wrap bandages, and then we got a tourniquet that's specifically designed for canines from a company called Tate Solutions, which is where we get the OLAS, but it's where we get all our first aid stuff from. And then we have 2 types of gauze, the Z-fold bandages that you use for packing wounds. One's just plain old cotton, and the second one is Solox infused, so it's got blood clotting agent in it. And then we also have a soft muzzle for the dog, because no matter how good of friends you are with that dog, if he's hurt and you're poking on him, he's gonna probably bite you. So we got a soft muzzle that you can use for it as well. And those also are free. The only requirement is that you're vested by the dogs, or the dog has a vest from us. So if you get a vest from us, which is, again, is totally absolutely free, you get all this other stuff too. And we also provide other training. There's a whiz bang guy that teaches quarry classes. When we call quarries, are what you use. They're the guys that wear the bite suits and go and train your dog. And those guys, well, they use them. You send your dog after them to go bite them for training. And but if you have a bad quarry, they're not going to help you out a lot. If you have a good quarry, who knows they'll ask you what kind of dog you got. How does he act on the bite? Is he feeble on the bite? Do I need to build him up, or is he really strong on the bite? And I can really mess with him and test him. They'll bring out what they need to bring out in that dog while they're fighting with the dog.
I want to interject something right here. We're going to bring Tate back in the weeks to come, and we're also going to learn how to do a little bit more editing on our videos. And we'll be able to show you his retired service animal, Havoc, doing work with a quarry.
Yeah.
And I've seen that video, and I wish we could share it on here right now, but we're working on editing. We're getting the program we want to get, and this is a learning experience. But when we do have Tate back, we will be able to show you Havoc in action.
Yes.
And he is a beautiful animal. He's silverback now. He's starting to get a little age and gray. I'm kind of partial to that look, you know what I'm saying? But he's still got a lot of life in him. And him being around Charlie, who is your pup, I see a lot of pup coming out of him. And just like people, man, they love what they do.
Yep.
And when they can't do that anymore, it changes their life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty hard for him to go from going with me every day to not going at all.
Yeah.
So there was no, well, I'm going to come in for a day or two. Because once you have to certify every year with your dog, or not every year, but for us it was every 2 years. We did in-house testing, but then you have to certify through the state every 2 years. And so it was coming up on time for him to certify in March, and I was going to be done. I knew that that following fall, so I was like, I'm not even going to waste his time with it. So we didn't certify that year, and he retired, and then I left in July. Drove down here and dropped everybody off, went back up, finished up some work stuff, and then came back down here.
So what other agencies locally would be using canines? Is there local search and rescue, fire departments?
So we vest pretty much, we vest search and rescue dogs. We obviously vest patrol dogs. We also vest narcotic dogs. We vest comfort dogs. We had, and it wasn't really a thing, but recently we found out that a comfort dog at a school was stabbed by a student.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
So now
parents do a better job.
Yep, comfort dogs get vest too. They don't have to, these are super hot on the dog, and
Sure.
And summers here are different than summers in Washington State. Right now, like the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine. It was 100 degrees already out there.
Wow.
And there is a difference between dry heat and this heat.
Yeah. This heat, you can take a drink of it when you're thirsty.
Yep, you need a scuba tank to go outside.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like outside tracks. I wouldn't put this on. I mostly put this on him for building searches, or if we were having a known arrest, a planned event, then I would have him in his vest for that type of stuff. If we knew I could keep him cool right up until, like in a car, right up until it's go time, then I would I'd have the vest on him. When we were in our little incident in the mountains, I probably should have took the 30 seconds it took to put the vest on him, because the whole time that I was in my gunfight, I was thinking, don't shoot my dog, don't shoot my dog, don't shoot my dog. And luckily we didn't. I checked in for holes on the way back to the truck, and no problems there. And so thankfully we didn't.
I think he was subduing someone while you were doing a little work on him one
Yes.
time too.
Yeah, so that first guy, Havoc, was biting the guy as we were shooting at him. So that was, yeah, and I was a firearms instructor as well, and at 26 or 27 yards, wherever we were, that's a pretty long pistol shot, especially under stress. And so I bet if you put a piece of paper behind that guy, you'd see a bunch of bullet holes.
Yeah.
Over here. So, because my dog was down here. But anyway, so yeah, but especially in our county, it's so rural, it's so big. It would take me probably an hour and a half to drive from one side of our county. Actually, probably more like 2 hours to go from one side of our county to the other side of our county, and that's all on the highway. And so, you could easily put 400 miles in a day on your car.
Wow.
So in a town.
And if you got a wounded canine, you got to do treatment right there.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
another
So-
that's another stellar idea of
Yeah.
whoever come up with
And
invest.
Canine, it opened up the world for just good PR for the sheriff's office too. I mean, I could be in Starbucks getting a cup of coffee, and some kids walk in with their parents. Hey man, you want to meet a cop dog? They're like, oh yeah, I do. And my first dog, we didn't do a lot of introduction to that dog because I think he wanted to eat everything that was about that. Well, it didn't matter how big it was; he wanted to eat it. But Havoc, I could turn loose in a classroom full of fourth graders, and he wouldn't have a problem. One, I could just let him run around and get pets, and he'd love it. And then come work time, he'd flip a switch, and it's time to go to work. Yeah, so I could bring the kids out, talk to the kids about the dogs, and show them, let them sit in the cop car and turn the lights on, and have a good time, and educate the parents on, like, hey, what's that? Why do you got two guns? I go, that's a taser. It's not a gun. And so we talk about tasers and their effectiveness, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. More often than not, they don't.
Yeah.
And so, and then it was a great way to educate people. So on what we do, and that we're not the boogeyman like everybody puts us out to be. Now, are there bad people out there that have a badge? Yes, there are, but there is in every profession. So look at teachers and students right now.
Yeah.
Look at doctors and preachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so everybody's got their little dark side. No group, I don't think, is above it. But, so, and then having that dog with me, just doing it at the push of a button. I had one guy, he was a pretty big dude, and I'm not a big dude. And let's just say at 5'7", I got in 2 knockdown drag-out fights in the 27 years I was a cop. And, I had a pretty good gift of gab of talking people into handcuffs, but I had one guy, I'd been waiting for them, and I was like, I bet they're coming back from grandma's house at dinner about now. And I went out, and the first car I saw coming back into town was them, and I turned on them, got them pulled over, and the girl, it was a domestic violence type thing that I had been looking for him for, and they had a restraining order between the two, and the girl went in the house and shut the door, and the guy said, I called him by name and said, hey, you're under arrest. He's like, he's walking towards the house, and I said, you're under arrest. And he kept walking towards the house, and I went and grabbed a hold of him, and my big dog, he just starts rocking that car and barking. I said, I only got to push a button, and he's going to be on you, buddy. And he just put his hand behind his back.
A little persuasion.
Yeah. So having that little extra bit of instant backup was pretty awesome, because you could be literally, your closest officer would be 45 minutes away easy, going as fast as they could drive. So, and having that dog in the car with you just made your job feel a lot safer.
Sure.
So it was pretty good, awesome, pretty good time. So.
You got anything you want to pick his brain with?
No, you answered all my questions. We're going to be getting that information of where they can reach out, and if they want to donate, so we can put it in the description.
Or if you have a canine friend, send them our way, and we'll get them hooked up.
Well, I was going to say, if you know somebody that is canine and they are running their dog without a vest, and they would like to go through this course and get this understanding, make sure you like and share this, please, because this might save someone's life. That's why I asked those questions in the order that I did, because if that dog, the dog might get 3 broke ribs with a small caliber handgun, but that dog is still going to be in the fight, and you might be saving that police officer's life. This is more than just decoration. Plug that website one more time.
VIK9S.org.
VIK9S.org.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be on your calendar.
It'll be there too.
It's right here on our.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's right
on
here.
your bracelet.
Yep.
There you go.
I also know with mental health and substance abuse, compliance is not something that's rationalized.
This is true.
Fear and pain create great compliance, and I would imagine, I know Dandridge, I've seen it every time I drive home. There's always canine units in Dandridge, and also having the lake with searching and things of that nature. But yeah, just having that as another way of creating a compliance that doesn't have to lead to a lethal end for anybody.
Yeah. So in Washington State, you have to, and one of the reasons why I left when I did was the laws were turning to where it was getting difficult to do my job.
Sure.
And the way I used to do it, and that's I think what they're hoping to try and phase us old timers out and train up their new people how they wanted them to be police officers. And so I was like, and so it was just time for me to leave. If I would have stayed my full 30, I would have been done just this last April. Would have been my 30-year anniversary. So
well, with the compliance he's talking about, is that dog considered a non-lethal force?
yes,
Okay.
but it's a pretty high level of force still.
Yeah.
And so what I was starting to say, and I got sidetracked, it has to be a violent crime, and it has to, except for misdemeanors, and the only misdemeanors we could deploy the dogs on are domestic violence and protection order violations. The order violations are there because somebody's in danger. That's why you get the court order for this person to stay away from you. And so generally speaking, if that person's violating the order, they're probably there to do you harm, more likely than not. And so we can deploy on those, and we can deploy on domestic violence situations, because if we don't apprehend the suspect, there's a good chance they're going to come back and either continue what they're doing or it'll get worse.
Is that per state? Like
Different states have different
rules. Yeah.
Some are a little more liberal on their deployments, and you can deploy on things. But Washington State was, they kind of, you had to justify your reason for using that dog. And so my first dog was I had more bark outs with that dog than I did bites. So people would hear that dog just rah, 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 rah. I'd have to hold his mouth shut to give my canine announcement, like on a building search. I have to hold his mouth shut because he would get keyed up on what I said. It's time to go find somebody. So I have to hold his mouth shut, and I go, Sheriff's Office Canine Unit, attention in the building, Sheriff's Office Canine Unit, this building's gonna be searched by a police dog. Come out now and make yourself known to me. My dog will find you. You will be bit. And then I let him bark, so I knew I wasn't kidding. And then I hold him mouth shut again, and then let him give another announcement, and then send the dog after that. With Havoc, he barks in the car. He chases cars in the car while we were driving around. But you get him out to work, and he's like a ninja. He didn't want to bark, and so I couldn't get him to bark, and so he would. So I'd make the announcements, but I didn't have the opportunity to get him to bark in between announcements. So my first dog, I could just go like this, and he'd start barking. It was pretty fun with him. But Havoc, he gets out of the car and he turns ninja, and he's like swift and silent, and off he would go.
Reminds me of Police Academy with Sweet Chuck.
Yeah.
Had the corner of the dog barking inside, so the people would be deterred to go inside because there's a dog barking in there.
Yeah.
Only you, Bruce.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
It was so good.
Oh, you
Sweet
jostled
Chuck.
something in here. After our podcast last 2 weeks ago, I got on the phone with another one of my friends that lives in Ohio, and I think that they were separated at birth. So, Dawn, if you're watching this and you made this far in the video, thanks for taking my phone call that day. It made both of our days, and I appreciate that.
We actually had a great conversation about 80s horror, but May 27th is a special day. Christopher Lee's birthday and Vincent Price's birthday.
Wow.
May 27th. And my best friend Vinny, he lives in California. He was a former Marine. That's his birthday. And I was, man, there's so many great birthdays this day.
And that was that yeah. With the stuff, this is my little public service announcement, and I'm just going to say bye and I love you, but with the stuff that's going on in the world today, keep your head on a swivel, protect you and those people that you love before everything. There are some places that it might be advisable to avoid for the next week, 10 days. But if you do have to go into those environments, just make sure you have 100% awareness, limit your distractions, and be prepared. You want to come home, you want to love on people, you don't want to get in the law enforcement's way, you don't want to become a liability to them. So just use a little bit extra common sense in the days to come, because the world is coming unhinged, and we're praying for that. We're praying that things be healed on the backside of some of this craziness. But I will say this, I have had a lot of things in my vehicle when I was a younger man that police sought me out for, and I have not done those things in 25, 26 years. But I will say this, anytime I look back and I see a car that's either unmarked, it might be a civilian car that could be an unmarked car, or whether it's got the gumball machine on top of it, I still get that little pucker factor in the bottom of my stomach. But let me tell you something, I've come to love and appreciate law enforcement officers. I count many of them among my friends, and I'm privileged to have on my back porch one that I even call my brother. And thank you again, Tate, for being with us. This is kind of off script, but we had a willing volunteer, so we made use of it. Bruce, anything that you'd like to prelude towards the next time, like maybe next week instead of 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think we should do one next week. Just keep an eye out. We have a lot of people that we have interest in for just showcasing, acknowledging their good works. There's a lot of people that I see daily that are donating their time and contributing to the community. And that's something if you ever see my Facebook Lives, getting out there and contributing, be that positive energy. It's so important. There's so many people that are hating each other. If you go on Facebook, I Love Dandridge is just a pool of people of hating each other. Get out and do something good. And if you're not mentally feeling it that day, play in your garden. Don't go out. Just
go touch grass.
Just forest bathe. Take a hike. You don't need to act every time. When you are in a good position and you feel I can handle this, then do it. But there's just too many people out there that are ready to get on each other's throats, and this is the best medicine: sitting around, talking to friends, enjoying each other's company, learning some new things, and I encourage you guys to do that as well.
Well, I had a young lady approach me out of the blue. I just a familiarity about her. I've seen her in Strawberry Plains, but she came up to me and she said, "I watched your all's podcast," and I was like, "Okay, here we go. Are you talking about Local 865?" And she said, "Yeah." And I had got to tell you about this. This was, I think, Tuesday night when this happened. And she goes, "Yeah, I enjoyed it so much. I watched it, and we were talking about forgiveness." And she said, "That hit me right in the heart." She said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Why?" She said, "Why did you all start a podcast?" And I said, "The same reason every other man starts a podcast. We can't afford therapy, so we talk to you." So thank you for joining us. Join us in thanking Tate Everett.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Look that organization up. If you got a few bucks to throw that way, if you are a company that's looking for a loophole, I'm sure that they'd love to hear from you, because you're doing a good and you're doing a good service. And like Bruce said, volunteer, find something to do for nothing that will reward you everything. How's that sound?
That's perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, I love you.
I love you.
I love you too.
There you go.
And we'll catch you next week. So we're going to every week instead of every 2 weeks, and we look forward to getting to see that much more of you. Thank you again for being here.
You got the button duty.